Hello, my name is Kendra Hinkler, and for my crisis communications presentation today, I'm going to be talking about the crisis I personally chose, which is the student debt crisis. First, we're going to look at some facts about the student debt crisis. This is a graphic I found that was pretty good at explaining some of the different aspects of it. Currently, 40 million Americans have at least one student loan out. As of November 2015, the total debt is at 1.3 trillion. And even though that was 3.5 years ago, that debt has continuously still climbed as of November 2015. Estimated average student debt per student is $28,000 to $33,000. So that's just one person has that. So times that by the 40 million, and that's how we get the couple $trillion in debt. The current range of interest is 4.29 to 6.94%, and that's just when you take the loan out, you have that much interest put on it that then you have to keep paying back. So it's not just, oh, I'm taking out $10,000 of loans, it's I'm taking out $10,000 plus all the interest you then have to build up, and that's why it's so tricky to pay off all of your student debts. Next, we're going to look at some testimonials that I found on the studentdebtcrisis.org. The first one is by Lisa Park, and she says, I believed that I was doing what was best for myself and my family, but it has only gotten me further in debt. In addition, I make a little over $50 yearly and cannot afford my student loan payment, and struggle monthly just to pay the basics. I'm still in school owing more than $100,000 and see no relief in my future, only struggling more as I will have to start paying on them more upon 6 months of graduating. I cannot buy a home due to the student loans. I do not think I will ever make enough to pay back the debt, and I only hope my children will not have to pay it. The next one comes from another lady, and it says, I graduated from undergrad in 2009 and graduated graduate school in 2011. I have since then paid the amount I have borrowed towards my loans, yet I owe just as much still as the atrocious interest rates and an income that just doesn't go up fast enough. I make a great living, but all goes to my student loans, and they still never seem to go down. I feel like I cannot live, I cannot go on trips, I cannot buy new clothes, and I can barely afford my car payments and gas to put in it just to go to the grocery store and back. I will never get out of this debt hell. Reading these two, they seem a little, oh my God, I'll never be able to pay it off. But once you go into the website and you actually read all of the testimonies they have on there, they're all pretty similar of people saying they did what they were told was the path they needed to be on, and somehow it has just caused them to be in a world that they didn't want to live in. The risks assessments were that I found were that there's no current working solution for the growing debt, because there is really no solution you can just put out there immediately. It's not like the federal government can come out and just be like, we're going to forgive everything, even though I know that's a solution we all really want. And without intervention, the debt crisis will continue to grow larger and larger. As I said, like the 1.3 trillion as of November 2015, that has just continued to grow larger and larger. For prevention, there is really no way to prevent this crisis from continuing, because people are still going to continue to go to college. They're still going to continue to take out loans. We can only give options that'll help lessen it in the future, such as tech and trade schools, really sitting students down before they go to college and educating them on what loans are, because I know personally I have quite a few friends that didn't understand loans and they didn't understand the interest rates they were going to have to pay back. For planning, we just need to inform future professionals of all the different possibilities out there that are other than college, because a lot of times growing up we're told if we don't go to college we won't succeed. College is the answer, college, college, college. But we need to look at there's tech and trade schools, taking a year off to save so then you can go straight into college and pay for it without having to worry about taking out loans, worrying about living expenses. The responses are obviously, again, promoting tech and trade schools and teaching about loans. These are the two biggest things I've been focusing on in my plan, because these are really the two options that will actually work. Because if we just promote tech and trade schools, those jobs will always be there. There's always a growing demand for tech and trade professions, and without teaching kids and having kids go into those professions, they'll start to die out and we'll kind of be in a different crisis other than the student loan crisis. And teaching about loans, as I said, many of my friends didn't really understand loans. I have had friends that have taken out loans big enough not only for their educations, but for the housing for the year, for them to be able to go out and party and like get food and all this other stuff. And they don't realize the effect that it's gonna have on them, because when you get out of college, you immediately have to start paying it back. You're not gonna be able to afford a house for 6 to 10 years. You're not gonna be able to get a new car. You're gonna be stuck with the car you've had since high school. And it's just small luxuries we don't really think about, but when we're so far in debt, it's something we'll never be able to get out of. And then recovery, one of the options I did find is that some companies have started offering a student loan repayment to potential employees. And this is just every month, along with their salary, the company might be like, we're gonna give you $100 to $200 to go towards your student loan payment. And so the companies that have started doing this have actually realized that they have a more competitive want for those jobs. Now on to my personal crisis communications plan. I found this really cool graphic that just shows someone graduating and then ball and chain to their student loans. So the main thing I have talked about is tech and trade schools. My plan will help with students' debt crisis by putting an emphasis on tech and trade schools and properly educating students on student loans. A lot of the questions you hear people asking are, what really are loans? What are the interest rates and defaulting on loans? And a lot of people don't really know what defaulting on loans is, but that's if you don't make a payment, a strike goes on your credit score, and those strikes stay on for 7 years. So if you default within the first couple months of you being off, that mark is on your credit score way up until then. So if you continue defaulting, the strikes keep going there. And your credit score helps determine if you can buy cars, get houses, and so that's something you really want to keep nice and clean. We would have supporters for tech and trade schools on our team. And so the main one that a lot of people think of when they think of tech and trade schools is Mike Rowe. He's been on shows like Dirty Jobs, where he works odd jobs, and he's a spokesperson for Skills USA and has publicly shared his support for tech and trade schools. Now, Skills USA is something through trade schools that they have a whole bunch of different competitions in, like masonry, electric, carpentry, all these things, and he actually came and spoke at their national conference a couple years ago and just talked about how amazing it was seeing how many students were there and in that field. The key messages I put were basically putting college students' well-beings for their future as a first concern, which should be the concern no matter what, not the federal government getting their money, not making sure we have enough people in the job force, but putting the students' well-being first. Potential college students should not have to go to college just to go to college. A lot of students feel like college is the option that they need to take, and it's the option that they're gonna do because it's what we're told for most of our lives. But it is not the only option. You shouldn't just do something just because you think it's the right thing to do. Student loans are not the perfect option they may appear to be. Providing all the information about the interest loans carry and about the details of the possible defaults on payments is something we really also need to put an emphasis on. And maybe recommending students maybe take the leap year off to be able to work for a full year to really determine not only to have enough money to pay for everything, but also for them to really positively absolutely know exactly what they want to go into. Because a lot of students will go to college and be like, I'm going to be here for 3.5 years. And then they change their major 4 times and they're there for 6 or 7. The media response we would have is emphasizing that we are here for the students. Everything we are doing is for the students to better themselves. Having a knowledgeable team who will be transparent with the media and having all information that they need. So now that we've looked at what my crisis communication plan is for the student debt crisis, all we really need to do is try to put it in motion, get a team together, get very passionate people together who want to help students have a better future and to get everything ready. Thank you.